NC Paint and Decor. Whatever your decorating needs are, paint, wallpaper, or expert colour advice, we've got you covered.
Our island home, its waters blue and endless green, inspires colour like no other. Colour Trend paint is crafted in Ireland and designed for durability. Visit your local stockist or store for colour inspiration. Colour Trend, a world of quality in every colour.
Ennis Electrical, best prices on appliances, huge savings on premium brands. Ennis Electrical is a family-run business who pride themselves on good customer relations. Ennis Electrical are part of Expert, one of the largest electrical retailers in Ireland.
Custom sportswear and workwear by Baru Sports in Ennis and Shannon. From clubs and schools to local businesses, we design quality gear that looks sharp and lasts. Baru Sports Ennis and Shannon, custom made for your team, your work, your game. Call us now on 061 364 750.
Martin Williams Concrete Products Limited is a family-run business based in County Clare, Ireland, specialising in precast concrete solutions for a wide range of industries. Over 2 decades of experience. Established in 1998, they actively listen to customer needs and continuously research innovative ways to improve their offerings. They have a strong local reputation for reliability and customer service, deep knowledge of the building sector, which they're happy to share with clients. If you're working on a building or landscaping project and need durable, locally made concrete products, they might be worth checking out.
Build up to a big weekend in Zimmer Biomet Park Isog. 2 county finals coming up, as we said, the intermediate final, and after that, of course, the senior final, which we're all looking forward to. So it's a big day out, and we want to welcome everybody online as well at Clare TV in association with Stream Sport, and we're bringing this right across the county, the country, and wherever else you may be after that. So just for tonight, just for the 4 teams, just give one big cheer for all the 4 teams in action this weekend. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Absolutely. I'll tell you now, there's a noisy crowd in tonight now. I just know that. I just know there is. Now, talk about noise. Well, I have 4 lads coming on now, and there's loads of stories and loads of success behind them, and I want you to give each one of them a big buildup. First person on here, he actually has a foot in both camps on Sunday in the senior final, has enjoyed great success there as well. So give a big welcome to James Hanrahan. Well done, James. Come on, give him a big cheer. Come on, James. Good man. Next man up, again, a man who has enjoyed great success with her rogue as well over a long number of years. A couple of stories there with him as well. He even got lost one time. We'll tell you about that. Give a big welcome to Barry Keating. Hi, Barry. Now, the one thing you might have learned over the last couple of years listening to Joe Gary, no matter where you go in the country, there's always the Clare Ind. Did you ever notice that? Always the Clare Ind. So we got somebody from Clare tonight. Great man, great in development squads as well. A big bull of us to Tom Quealy. Come on, Tom. And finally, a man I ran into many, many years ago in a hurling field, and boy, do I remember it. Absolutely. He's a great character and a great hurling football man as well. All the way from Corofin, give a big welcome to Michael Nealon. Well done, Mike. Well done. Now, lads, we'll all hit the high stool. You're all well? What was your first reaction when you got a big invitation to come here in front of the country and talk about football? Barry?
I suppose the first reaction was this thing on?
Is that?
First reaction is, what kind of excuse can I get to get out of this? But no, look, I'm delighted to be called up here to have a chat with yourself and talk about the match on Sunday. But yeah, no, look, I was delighted. As I say, I couldn't think of any reason not to be here, so I'm here.
Absolutely. James, we think you have a foot in both camps. That's history behind you. And we'll talk much more about county finals afterwards. Who told you the very first day that you were going to be a goalkeeper?
Oh, a few fellas were trying to tell me that still for a long time before I went into goal. So, no, I started off under 12, I suppose, it was kind of Clare Rua back then, and the original Dura Bearfield football side of the club was Clare Rua. And started off under 12, and yeah, didn't really go into goal until under 14, under 16. So was probably playing a bit of soccer and goal, and ended up in goal in the Gaelic football then after that.
Very good. You had an eye for the ball, is that it?
I wouldn't say I had an eye for it, but
you
know yourself now, still, you're always looking for somebody to go into goal.
Absolutely. Tom, all well in Clare, looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Like, it's nice to be back in the final after a couple of years, but you prefer to be kind of in the other final, but we'll take this one for today anyhow.
You know what the song says, Tom? One day at a time. Exactly. Absolutely. Michael, delighted to meet you. We met a long time ago. He was a towering centre back on the Corofin hurling team for many, many years. I can't testify to the football, but he certainly was a huge player at centre back for a great Corofin team.
Well, I don't know still about the great centre back on the hurling, but I wouldn't have been good enough to stay at it. So I finished up going back at the football. I don't know what caused the conversion, but we had no football club when I was a young lad in Corofin. So just to let people know, I played football with Milton. There was a man called Paddy Hennessy. He had a pub there in the middle of the town, and he was decent enough to come over to the house twice a week. And when training was over, he gave me the fresh sandwiches, the best of bacon. That's what I remember about Paddy Hennessy. That lasted for 2 or 3 years.
And then you went back to Corofin.
Well, there was more money out of it.
Oh, yeah. What you say, Michael? There was no football?
Football because
no football.
Football was played in Kilfenora, and there were a few lads from the northern end of the parish. The parish is known as Ra and Kilnaboy. So the Kilnaboy end of the parish played with Kilfenora. That's where the Clancy's were. So we had to get the Clancy's kind of on board first. That took 5 or 6 years, as you probably know.
What was the reception like to football coming in?
We haven't got over it yet.
I just said I'd ask it now, Michael.
Yeah. No, we haven't. We haven't. We are about a fortnight behind putting up colours. That's indication of where we fit in the pedigree on the football. Yeah.
Right, I'm after digging a hole, I think. Tom, I know you're a man into coaching big time, both at schools level, at county level as well. When a young player arrives to you for development squads, what's the one or two things you'd look for and say to yourself, he might make it, or he needs a bit of work, or, you know, other things? What's the two or three things that would catch your eye?
Well, obviously, like, you know, you're looking for lads who've kind of got a decent level of skill and who can kind of go left and right without kind of having to make too much of an effort about it. And then what you really are looking for is the young fella who has a bit of development in him, like, you know, who's going to have a go and who's not going to, you know, be shy in the field. He's going to get stuck in, and, you know, irrespective of the challenge in front of him, he's going to try his best irrespective, and he's not going to back down off somebody. That's the kind of attitude that you want. You know, he's always going to keep going.
Do you think there are certain things you just can't get into a player? Is there certain things like, you know, as you said, the bit of a tough man kind of attack? Is it difficult to get it in, or is it a great natural thing to have?
Yeah, well, I suppose you can't really give it to lads. Like, sometimes they either have that or they haven't got it. Like, you know, you'll see great young lads that maybe, you know, 13, 14, 15, but they mightn't necessarily kind of come all the way through to adult football. And it'll be the young fella who has who's not maybe as physically developed, but who has that kind of bit of bite about him, who'll just maybe blossom in the next kind of couple of years and really get their teeth into training. Like, you know, that's the guy, the competitor that you really want. And you can work with that fella.
You can work with that. James, what's the biggest transition from being a player at the highest level to being a coach or a manager on the sideline?
Yeah, I suppose when you're a player, you're one of the lads, and you know, when you go into management, you have to make some hard calls. You know, players left out. You have to manage players a bit better. You have to, I suppose, take an overall view of the panel of players you have and pick the best players that's in it. I suppose when you're finished, you know, after a game is over, these days, you know, players go away and management sit down and they have to go through things, whether it's stats or video analysis and stuff like that. So I suppose these days management and being a selector or whatever is a kind of a full-time job. You're getting more emails and clips of videos and stuff like that. So it's a whole new ball game now. So
which one would carry, in your own head, which one would carry the most pressure?
I suppose management now these days. You know, there's a lot of pressure with management. You know, pressure for success, to win games, a lot of pressure from clubs, you know, a lot of people going to games, so there's a big emphasis now on winning games.
We often heard the old saying, of course, if a team wins, they have a great team, and if they lose, you have poor management.
That's it, yeah, you know, no matter how good a manager is, somewhere along the line he's going to get a bit of a slating for, you know, for losing games, whatever. Every manager loses games at the end of the day. You know, whether you win 5 in a row, the 6th one, then you're the worst in the world, or whatever. You win 3 in a row, you lose the 4th one, you're the worst in the world. So somewhere along the line, the manager gets the blame for everything. So you have to be thick-skinned enough to take that and carry on.
You survived.
I'm still alive anyway. So.
Right. Barry, I want to ask you a very important question. Barry Keating, the referee. How will Barry Keating, the referee Barry Keating, the player?
That's the best question ever, anyway. I can't wait for this answer.
Well, I suppose under the new rules now, Barry Keating, the player, wouldn't last too long, let's say, with the mountain. Look, I'll be honest, I was the worst player. I'd say I was a referee's nightmare. And
sorry, Barry, that's part of the reason I asked the question.
Yeah. And look, it's kind of a poacher come gamekeeper, let's say. You're kind of going, you've been there, you can see the frustration in players and you just kind of work with them. The new rules have been a kind of revelation, really, for referees. It's actually much more enjoyable reffing because it has eliminated all the bouting, because, as you say, the penalties are draconian, so they're kind of well used to it. At the start, you were still kind of people were still mouthing away and they're getting used to the rules, but as the championship progressed, I mean, people are just adapting now and it's free flowing. Let's say the referee just explains his decisions and they just get on with it. Back to your first question, being honest, I'd hate to have ref me, to be quiet. It's just, I say, I was, as a man says, I was either roaring at the ref, roaring at the opposition, trying to hit the opposition, and then the rest of the time fighting with my own players. So I was a nightmare on the pitch.
James, if you were the manager,
ask him Darsil, does he mouth back to the players when he's refereeing?
Yeah. Now that you mentioned it, I wasn't going to ask him that, but now I will.
Yeah, occasionally, yeah. Sometimes you have to kind of tell him, will you shut up, will you?
Yeah, I remember a great referee, a fantastic referee one time, and I remember he gave a decision. And I've always used the language now, but and some players said to him, he made a decision, the opposition didn't like it, and they said to him, "Ref, will you put on a jersey?" "I have one on," he says above and Tulla, as he said on that occasion. Michael, your earliest memory of success on the field, or maybe at the club level, or some players you've come across that are still in your head?
I don't know about success now, Silda. I had to wait a long time for that. I thought the best manager I ever came across, I was 10 years of age and had never played hurling. We used to play a bit in school and that was it. But there was some juvenile game on and his tactic was, I'll pick the team when I see how they play outside in the pitch before the game. So he'd bring us half an hour early, send us out, and whoever caught his eye, he never had to give a pep talk. Everybody wanted to be on that team. Now, that was 10 or 12. That's how we were organised. I suppose the only bit of success I ever had was in Flannans. We won a Dean Ryan, I remember, and we had a brilliant coach, Willie Walsh. I don't know if you remember the Bishop. And you were asking James about how do you get tuned into your role. And he always picked something you could work on, and he gave you 15 minutes at the beginning of training. And he said, there's you now and your mate, and the two of you have the same thing to work on. And he let you at it. And I don't know if you ever came across, you probably didn't because you were used to hurling, but we used to have spadors. Would anybody be familiar with a spador? He was a guy that could handle a schlon well, but he was fairly useless with a hurley.
Don't be looking at me now, Michael. Don't be looking at me.
So he spotted after a few years that myself and my mate held the hurley in the left hand and caught the ball with the left hand. So every time we had to strike it, we had a half a hurley. And it only took him, in fairness to him, about 3 or 4 months to get that out of us. But he did one thing that will always stick with me. He said, whatever you're comfortable with, that's what we'll work on. He never said you need to have the hurley in your right hand. That was amazing. When I looked afterwards, I came across so many coaches and said, you're holding the hurley in the wrong hand. So that was my earliest induction, Sid. Never made much headway afterwards, of course, as you know. But
yeah.
That was
yeah, actually, if you remember, most people will, Willie O'Connor from Kilkenny was that type of a player. You know, he used to switch hands when he'd be striking. He'd catch it, and then he'd switch hands to strike it. Do you know what I mean? So, do you want to try hurling, Tom? I'm walking into this now.
There were no ash trees back in West Clare still. They only grew crooked, like, you know. No, there was no opportunity for us to play hurling when we were younger. I had an uncle, all right, Brendan Cannon. He was up in Dublin, but he hurled minor for Galway, and he used to come down every summer and he'd try and make us play hurling. Like, you know, he'd make hurleys out of whatever he'd find lying around the place. And he even brought down Wavin hurleys one summer. But I think the shock and the sting off the Wavin hurleys put it off it forever, like, you know. Yeah. But no, it never really did. Like, you know, when I went to college, all right, I kind of lived with 4 or 5 lads that hurled, and you just get brought out and stuck into the goals, and they'd flake everything at you. And then when you think you were getting good, like, you know, they'd come out then and they'd run their hurl up your hurl and skin your knuckles. That'd turn you off, like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, not the feeling.
Joe Gary actually tried bringing hurling into Clare as well, like, you know.
Sorry to the people who have just switched off. He did.
Yeah, they actually won a Junior B kind of West Clare League, I think.
Yeah.
He'll correct me on that one now, but there was a couple of funny stories about that. There was one lad actually lined out one day, and he was ready for the throw in, and the referee kind of shouts down the field at him, kind of at the cornerback. He says, "Are you ready?" And the young fellas kind of pipes up and he says, "Yeah, ready to go." And he asked him a second time, and the referee eventually kind of shouted down, "Well, you might get your hurl saw."
Joe told that many times. James, I want to take you back a few years to one of the greatest occasions ever in Clare football that we can remember. I know there was others. Memories, 92. How many people you come across every now and then that would still reminisce back to 1992? Because it was one of those very, very special days in Clare football.
Yeah, sure, it was a fantastic occasion still. we worked hard in the lead up to it, and we were kind of confident going into the game. People still look back on that day as a great day for Clare football. I suppose it was really the start of success for Clare GAA from the 90s on. So it was a fantastic day. Still look back on it. We were still in a WhatsApp group. There's still we meet up every now and then, and fantastic occasion. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a very tricky question now. When you ended up in Croke Park, that time it was just straight into the All-Ireland semi-final against Dublin in Croke Park. Can you remember what the Artane Boys band played that day?
No, sir.
No.
Waltzing Matilda, I'd say, was it?
No. They actually played the West Clare Railway.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I didn't know that, no, yeah.
Did you? I'll never forget it. It was a fantastic
day for for people to get to Dublin to an All-Ireland semi-final for the first time, and I know my own father got up there, God rest him, and it was a fantastic day. Something we'll always remember.
Absolutely, no question about it. Barry, born and bred into town, but on one particular occasion, you had to go to, was it Kilmehel? To play a match?
Look, sure. Aero back in the days when we were doing our trade weren't a well-oiled machine they are now. As I say, at the AGM, Chap and Fitz would stick up the hands, we'll take the football. That was it, like the whole lot, they took it. So I think it was pre-Donny coming in, Donny Buckley, so I think we were in a relegation intermediate match against Naivona in Coolmean. Sure, half of us hadn't been outside that in Coolmean, they hadn't a clue where it was, so we ended up on the pitch, and I think we had 13 players. One of the cars got lost. It was and it had Petey, Ruski and Bombs. So that was basically our kind of scoring forwards and our kind of main fellas. So anyways, they arrived about 15 minutes later. Anyways, long story short, I think we won the game, and it's been a kind of throughout the years, getting to matches there's always been one bit of an adventure of another. Since that was the kind of start, like when Tony then got Donny involved, let's say, that's when things started to move around. And Donny Buckley, like, he kind of brought that certain, shall we say, professionalism into the club. But he came in with his eyes wide open, like, and his first taste of Aerogue was an under-21 challenge match. Now, I don't know who arranged the match, but it was Sunday morning, and if anyone knows Aerogue, Sundays aren't great for Aerogue, and especially at under-21, we were very kind of sociable, let's say, on the Saturday nights. So what happened anyway is we arrived out to the pitch, same thing, like we ploughed into the back. We used to have Padge O'Keefe, used to have a yellow highest van, we used to all plough into the back of that. Arrived out to the pitch, this time we'd only 12 players, so one of them was late. So back in the day, you had to start the match with 13 players, and Donny, Padge, will you tug out there? So Padge just slapped on the old jersey over his denims and his dancing shoes. So in he was, corner forward, match went on 5 minutes. Next thing Donny says, Padge, man, up. So Padge trotted off saying, the boys here are there. No, I think we'll do better with 12, Padge.
He got in the way, Barry. He got in the way. Michael, if you got the job on next Monday morning to look after Clare football for the next 3 years at underage level or at any level, what approach would you make?
I'd ask you, Sil, now if I could have it for 10. Would that be a good starting point?
We'll get up past the 3 first.
No, I think there have been tremendous steps taken over the last 2 or 3 years to there is very little that can be added other than, I presume most people here would be aware of the difficulties once you go west of Ennis in terms of getting numbers. And you need numbers in order to get quality at training. So there is a problem. There is a problem. We might as well admit it. And I suppose the first thing I would like to see, and it has begun at small scale, is some kind of satellite training. There needs to be another 2, if not 3 bases where your 70 or 80 county squad players across the different years would come together for an extra night without pulling parents from Luped or Fenor out to Carlohan. Sometimes I feel now when I see lads coming in that we should give them breakfast before training. They've been on the road for an hour and a quarter before training starts. So that's not going to work. And another feature that has emerged is there's very little carpooling. So if you are a parent in Loophead, you're probably coming with your own son. So put those two things together, and for most parents, it's not that attractive to be told your son is one of 80 and there's going to be 3 years development before we'll know whether he's going to make a county minor squad. That to me is the biggest difficulty. And then if you say to the clubs, well, you look after it, club circumstances don't allow for quality training. Numbers are small, players are coming with different levels of development, different expectations. Support at home is very different. In some cases, players are dropped in and you're asked to look after them and make sure they're okay. And in other cases, parents are saying, well, what are we to do with them for the rest of the week? So I think if there were a few satellite bases with night facilities, gym facilities, obviously very important, I think that would be a huge bonus.
You can build that in Clare. We'll take it.
Yeah. Is that feasible, Tom?
Well, I'd say if you were to ask any of the parents, like, they'd say it makes total sense. Like, we had one carload of parents, parents and kids, they would come in from kind of O'Curry's, Nevo and Kilkee every Saturday morning for training, at 8:30. So they're on the road since before 7 o'clock. So there are some decent facilities kind of around the county, and a lot of places are kind of putting up gyms. There are satellite sessions, kind of gym sessions going on. So it would be a possibility to actually maybe link in with clubs and maybe develop a second pitch with a club, and then try and pool the resources just to take the burden off people, because at the end of the day, like, you're not going to develop anything unless you look after people and look out for them. And if you look out for them, they'll stay with you. And ultimately, the name of the game is to keep as many of those young footballers with us, either at the county level or else kind of develop them to be kind of good club footballers for the future. Only 20 odd of them can ever, maybe play minor for the county. But what are you going to do with the other, 55, 60 lads? You want them to kind of go back as very good club players as well. So yeah, I think it'd be a good investment. And it wouldn't be beyond the bounds of possibility to kind of, to develop at least 2, if not 3 of those facilities across the county.
Right. James, do you think there's much opportunity for late developers, even at club or at county level? Because, there's no point in being a legend at 14, I always say. So the late developer, sometimes that opportunity doesn't arrive for those players, because I suppose numbers would rule them out. In certain cases, as you were saying earlier on, Tom, about your under-14 team, there's a couple of under-11s on it, which is very different than a panel of players or a group of big numbers in clubs, which can be a backward step for the late developer.
Yeah, just like to agree with the boys there, it makes total sense to have training sessions back in West Clare in different areas for to save parents driving in for an hour and a half or whatever. For the late developer, I think that day is probably gone still. You're talking about a lot of fellas are retiring now at 30 years of age from inter-county football, so development squads in rugby, soccer, they're starting at 10 or 11 years of age, and the development just continues and continues. I suppose in Clare, you're kind of, at the moment, you're kind of pulling off a base of players that are kind of, I would say, good at everything. Dual players, whether it is rugby, soccer, hurling, Gaelic football, the best players are good at all those sports, and you're kind of pulling at those fellas. So we definitely need to develop facilities around the county for the likes of the West Clare lads and stuff like that. But I think the days you'll always get maybe 1 or 2 late developers. A guy that mightn't be good at under 12 or under 14, whatever, and the next thing he might become a good minor. But it's few and far between these days, I say, when you look at the development that goes on in all the other counties, we'll say.
If anybody at all down there just wants to ask a question, we can get a microphone to you there. Just put up your hand, just any question at all to the lads. Barry, there's that's what we're talking about. What kind of coaching were you introduced to at a very young age?
I suppose at a very young age, like I'd say most people back then, it was like my father, Furzy O'Connor, were the coaches. Football, you're just going up there, throw a few sets of balls around the place, and it was basically left up to the players. As you got better and got involved in kind of clear teams, and you got exposed to kind of proper coaching and exposed to proper players. I mean, you probably learned more getting roasted in training from the best players in the county and that's where you kind of honed your skills. But I mean, nowadays you've a lot of former players. They're getting involved because their kids are involved. So you have quality coaches at that underage levels, and they're like, being honest with you, when I was under 12, 14, I could run fast and I could kick with my right foot, but I was a headless chicken. Let's say I was up in the forwards. Nowadays the kids, they're kicking with their left foot, they're kicking with their right foot. So there's a lot more people get invested in coaching, and they're investing, and you can see it's paying off. I mean, Bernie set up the academy many years ago, and like we're reaping the rewards now in Éire Óg.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Anybody ask a question? You're all okay. Michael, I'm going to move on to the 2 years ago. I'll just go back 2 years ago, 18 months ago. You know, football was at the bottom of the pit. It was unwatchable, all these headlines that came with it. How much of a transformation have those rules made in your mind?
Well, first of all, I mean, attendances have shot up, and people wanting to see late at night and go back over something that they were talking about and arguing about, and we'll rerun that again this evening. There is a much higher interest level. The game is probably come on in terms of 3 or 4 skills that we had more or less disappeared. The kick-out has to be won. Now, there might be questions about how neatly it is won. That's not possible, but there are some tremendous episodes of fielding. Life for James would be much easier now. All you have to do, James, is lash it up the field there. Keep it out of the way. Sorry, Sil, now, but my longest memory of James was a night over in Ballyline, and I decided I needed to learn a bit. I think it was 93. But he had a coach, a goalie coach. I don't know if you remember, James, and you had 2 barrels. These were the big old tar barrels, and they were left and right of him, and he had to dive over the tar barrel without injuring himself. That was the challenge. I decided I'd bring that back to Corofin. Mind you, I was barred, but that was a different thing. Going back to your question about after the kick-outs and the fielding, it is brilliant. We were just talking about it outside with Tom and Barry and James. Now you can take a risk because you're down 4 points. You can go out there and say, okay, I've to get up at the other end of the field, and if I got 2 pointers, we're back in the game. Before this, you'd go up and the game was over, and you'd be playing around for a bit of pride, and you'd be hoping you might get a goal. So that is, to me, the third item that has made a huge, huge change. And now we were also talking about what happens about the lads that go fighting halfway when the ball is up the field. Well, you've lost your man, he's gone, and they are in transition, and there's no point in fighting with him. So that's a big relief to everybody. And I suppose the last thing I've noticed with the young lads, they're actually disciplining each other now. They turn around and they give out to their mate who gave away 40 metres. And to me, that cuts out all the nonsense on the sideline and having to start disciplining your own lads. So those, to me, it's a whole new game. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Barry, just, you mentioned it earlier on a serious note about the refereeing. There's no back chat now, because if you don't hand back the ball, it's 50 metres up the field.
Yeah, look, it's probably encouraging now, let's say, for anyone that's thinking of taking up refereeing. It is much more easier to ref the matches. The importance, though, is that the referee has to know the rules themselves. So the onus is on ourselves, let's say, to make sure that we're educated, we know the rules, so that we're applying them correctly. But when they're applied correctly, and once again, they're open to interpretation. I used to be a back, I'll ref the game like a back, so as a man says, the fancy forwards ain't getting no frees from me, let's say. If you bring it into contact, your own problem, chap. But the technical side of it and the rules, you'll actually, once you know it, you breach the rules, they know themselves. Now, I think we mentioned, let's say, the old way we used to play, we're part of the Jubilee team this year, myself and James. It was catch and kick. There was no sweepers, no nothing. You were thrown back there, your mark and Sil. Get on with it. Let's say if he beats you, you get the curly finger. There was no one coming back helping you. It was catch and kick, and you kick the ball up, and the forwards, they had to get out in front, win it, and kick it over the bar. Simple job. Forwards kick it over, back stop your playing. And as I say, it was a lot more physical. As I mentioned, the ball was up the other end. There could be 4 of you rolling on the ground. You had to be able to mind yourself back then. I was a small lad, so I had to learned to mind myself, so you have to kind of be able to punch and get with it. So, and I mean, the refs, you doesn't get sent off too much, like.
You'll survive. Before I just check, I know on a big day, there's linesmen with earpieces and all that. When you go back to a lower level and you don't have that communication, how much communication do you get on the field from 3 players not being up?
Being honest with you, when you start to reffing it, the teams are, I think Michael alluded to it, they're talking to each other, but you can kind of, when you're reffing matches, you look back and you can spot the 3 and you can see who's the furthest forward. And like the rules are if he's not interfering with play. So, I mean, there's a line you're allowed 4 metres now, so realistically, they're kind of, you've guys on either sideline roaring, stay up, so they kind of police it themselves. And then there's obviously one fella that kind of has a complete brain fart and he'll just kind of keep running and he'll get penalised. But in the main, a lot of the teams have really kind of bought into it and they're well coached.
Yeah, very good. Tom, the biggest impression the new rules have made on your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it has to be the 2-pointer still. You know, you're cruising there in a game, you're up 4 or 5 points, and you think you're home and hosed under the old system. But then, you know, the keeper, and invariably it is the keeper, comes up and he kicks a 2-pointer, and he kicks a second 2-pointer, and all of a sudden, you know, it's squeaky bum time again, like, you know. So that's a real difficult one. When you're out in front, you really have to put the shoe down and keep going. And fellas have to keep their discipline. If you're the chasing team, I think Michael said it keeps you interested. Like, you know that you're going to get chances, whereas previously you mightn't get in for that goal, or you'd have too many fellas gone forward, and any decent kind of sign of good forward play to lead into a goal probably wouldn't exist, but maybe hoof it into the edge of the square, and it was kind of, anything could have happened. But this way around, like, you don't need to go for the goal. You can be a little bit patient, drag teams around the place, and it is more interesting. And people look forward to that kind of keeping that game tight to the end, like, And I do agree with Barry, like the self-discipline from the players and the respect for referees definitely has picked up as a result. It's an awful lot easier. Like, I'd be there with the young lads on the sideline, and if they open their mouth, kind of say, lads, it's the rule. They're turning to you, kind of saying, can you talk to the referee? And I say, no, you just zip it. And it's that self-discipline and the respect that's beginning to come through. We've talked about it before, but having it as a rule has really kind of upped the standards there.
Yeah. Always pressure on a goalkeeper, James, nowadays, to land the ball on top of the midfielder, but that doesn't always work. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. What impression have the rules left on your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think the rules are fantastic, yeah. Tap and go, I think, is a fantastic new rule. 2-pointer is excellent. There was talks maybe that it was bad for the game, but I think when there's a chance of a 2-pointer, teams have got to push out, and it leaves a bit more space inside for the forwards. Kick-outs, if you have a good goalkeeper, you can probably still get them away. There isn't...
we would have been snookered so back in the day with you and goals.
I thought you were still crying after the way you were discriminated against for being small. But yeah,
are we on the end break?
But kickouts now. Some of the top goalkeepers can get the kickouts away, but I suppose it's more the break of the ball and getting players under it now. I suppose you see Armagh kind of in the All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry, they were cruising, and the next thing, the kickouts, I don't know, they lose 12 or 13 in a row. Like, put the goalkeeper, every kick-out went out the same side of the field, and Kerry just copped onto it. So, if you have a big midfielder, you have an advantage. If you don't, like I know in Clare this year, we struggled a lot of times with some of the kick-outs going out. But we failed to pick up a lot of breaks. But we had 2 good midfielders. But breaking ball was a bit of an issue around the middle of the field. But if you're a goalkeeper now, kick-outs are one thing you need to work on. But as Tom says, goalkeepers coming up the field was good early in the league, and they cut that back now. So there's very few goalkeepers that come up, except the Rory Beggins maybe and the Niall Morgans come up. But most counties don't have a goalkeeper that can come up that far and kick 2-pointers.
Very good, very good. We have 2 big finals the weekend. We're going to move into those now. As I said, both games are live on Clare TV in association with Stream Sport as well. Intermediate final on Sunday, I think, is 1:15. Michael, will you be there overnight, or will you come in about 1 o'clock?
Well, I thought I had arrived tonight when I saw the line up here. I didn't say hello with a smile to Tom. Tom, I'm sorry about that. This is kind of getting ready time. I have that dressing room feeling. You know, when you can kind of smell the fear.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yes, it was some. I suppose for most of the lads, it's a totally different world now. Preparation kind of goes on for 2 or 3 weeks. You know that you're in a final. There are things to be done, and they're to be done in an orderly fashion. I do miss the slightly more spontaneous preparation. You know, I don't think I'll be going out tonight. We'll give up the Friday night as there's a final on Sunday. I miss that kind of casual approach. So in a way, still, this is going to be a real test for Corofin. We don't have marquee players. In fairness, Jamie Malone, he is a marquee player. But when I compare to what Clare have in the box, it's a totally different ball game.
Will someone advise me how to follow that? You'll turn up anyway, Michael.
The Corofin lads, they will.
They will.
They will. Their mothers will make sure of that still.
Might bring the second team.
I think Michael was talking about, do you remember for the match before the All-Ireland hurling final, I think Joe Hayes is on it.
Oh,
I think he's taking his cue from Joe Hayes, a Tipperary fella. So.
Tom.
What do you say to that? Like,
Absolutely. Look, I don't know where we were at the time, but I think the big time that Clare came into directing for me was a game someday, was the day you beat Kilrush. I think there was a big mention from there on. I think they were favourites to win it, but it was a great victory for you, and you came very much into the spotlight on that.
yeah, it was, but like, you know, the team had gone through an awful lot early on in the summer. Like, they'd been, an awful lot of fellas had been away, injured. Brian was in the States, and sure, we lined out against Corofin, and they bit the lard off us over in Lisa Casey, 15 points. You know, so, you know, I don't know where he's going with
his... Well, you know why that happened, Sil, do you?
No, Michael.
Yeah, we were set up. We were set up.
Well, can I say something about set up? How in the name of God did I put the two of you together?
So, like, but that was then, and this is now. So, you know, we're looking forward to the final. But the game against Kilrush, probably the game against Navan as well. Like, you know, that was Brian was back, so you kind of settled down midfield, and you just got a little bit more experience. But they're a very young team. I think I told you beforehand. There's 11 of the team weren't involved 3 years ago. We were in the last intermediate final, and of that 11, I think there are something like 10 of them are actually under 21s, like this year and again next year. So they're a really young, inexperienced team, but they're good young lads, and we have plenty of faith in them. But like, it's a big expectation that they're kind of, you know, to kind of go out and actually beat Corofin. Like, Corofin would be a seasoned outfit, you know, and if you're kind of leaving out the two Cahills and, you know, and Jamie, and not kind of describing them as marquee players, you know, I don't know what you're at.
Does anyone?
I'll take them.
But in fairness, Michael, there's a fantastic understanding, but it seems to be from the outside, between the Corofin hurlers and footballers, because it's practically very much maybe 50, 60, 70% the same players.
That kind of brings its own problems, as you're aware, Sil. It's very tough now if you're in finals and semi-finals at any level, either junior, intermediate or senior, to have the same players. We are blessed with having 2 or 3 players from Rouen and from Crusheen. That has added a small bit more, what would you call it, experience. You know, the likes of Killian Mullins is a very experienced player, plays full back most of the time. Would have played a lot with Crusheen and would have acquired a lot of experience there. Ross Hayes, who's injured at the moment, probably won't be playing, also from Crusheen. And it's very interesting the effect that county players have when they return to a parish squad. I think that's what brings a lot of the vibrancy to Corofin. Players who are out of action and haven't been seen, haven't been training, and arrive. We are blessed with a lot of the players we have. They have had long careers. So unlike Tom, I would say seasoned is a lovely way to put it, but you know, when you have the stew on, you can over-season it. You know.
That's the cookery lesson for today now. Tom, where can Clare win this game on Sunday? Where will they be? I don't want to give away any secrets, but from an outside looking in, what do they need to do on Sunday to win this championship besides scoring more?
They'll have to keep the goals out.
Right.
Like they coughed up, was it 4 goals against them the last time out? Last year against Kilrush, we coughed up a load of goals. So that's our big challenge. Like, with a young team, trying to stay in the match would probably be one approach to doing it. But ultimately, you can't be out of the match too soon. And at times, this year and again last year, the game was over, from a long way off, and you're only kind of playing for respectability. So they'll have to kind of stay with Corofin and try and stay in the game and kind of grow in confidence and find their way on Sunday. And if they can do that and find space inside in Cusie Park, they'll have a chance, but an awful lot of things will have to go really, really right for them. And I think Corofin will have to kind of come down a peg or two for us.
I think it's going to be a fantastic game, to be quite honest about it. I was going to ask the 2 who would win, but that would be the most ridiculous question. To be 2-0 to Clare, anyway, I can tell you that. Big game on Sunday, lads. After that would be the county final. I saw the odds the other day. The odds the other day I saw up was 1-9 for Éireog to win the county final. I haven't seen that for quite a while, James.
Yeah, well, I suppose Éireog would be strong favourites going on their past few seasons. They're physically they're very strong. They've been playing well for the last number of years, and I suppose apart from a blip against Cratloe, they could be going for 4 in a row, is it, or 5 in a row. But fantastic players, a lot of inter-county experience. But I suppose you can say the bookies rarely get it wrong. But I think Bearfield have a fantastic chance. Bearfield have a fantastic chance in the final. The one thing they have all over the field is they have loads of pace. If they can keep the ball out of contact and move the ball quickly, I think it's going to be a fast, open game. I think Éireog were a bit iffy, bit off it maybe against Milltown. Milltown definitely, with about 10-15 minutes to go before Éireog got the goal, they had chances to maybe upset them a bit, but they didn't take them. I think Dura Bearfield will take those chances if they get them, but they probably need to get goals at the right time. They need goals at the right time to kind of stay ahead.
They got those goals in the semi-final, Barry. They got some cracking goals in the semi-final. I thought they were good in the quarter-final. They were excellent the last day. They need to bring that level, obviously, to the final, and if they do, it'll be a very interesting day.
Yeah, look, I mean, what Dura Bearfield have is they've come through 2 titanic battles in the quarter-final and the semi-final, and they've come on the right side of it. I mean, when they really needed it, big players stepped up and they kicked a good 2-pointers against Cratloe the last day. It was seesaw battle, let's say, and as you said, Tom Kern got a great goal, and I think Joe Rafferty got a cracking goal. So they have good players, and it all comes down, let's say, what James alluded to. Éireog have been there, like they have the experience. They're used to the run up to these county finals. It's how Dura Bearfield settle. If they settle early and get into the game, get into their swing, and start playing the ball around, and they play to their own game plan and don't do what most teams do and kind of try not to lose the match as opposed to go out and win it. Éireog will be Éireog. Look, Éireog, they've experience across the pitch. They won't worry if things don't go their way. They're well used to it. They've players, they've leaders all over the park, and while whatever's thrown at them, like, I think Éireog will absorb it in, and coming down the stretch, and at the end of the 60 minutes, hopefully we'll be county champions. Yeah,
interesting. Looking forward to it, Michael. County final day.
Well, I love both Éireog and Dura Bearfield. They've taken a totally different approach to playing football. They actually are playing football. So I have no doubt, but it will be, number one, a fast game, a skillful game. I'm just hoping the added little bit is there that it's high scoring. That would make it an incredible county final. But the build up to this, I saw the semi-final, Cratloe and Dura Bearfield, and I thought if Cratloe are in a game with 5 minutes to go, Cratloe are the winners. And I really felt Dura Bearfield have come on immensely to see out that game. Now, you might say Cratloe got their chances, but you can say that about any team that loses.
Absolutely, Tom. Looking forward to it, no doubt. You know, as we said, we look at from the very start, the Rogue have been mentioned as champions in this, but it's a Dora Bearfield side, as Barry was saying, they're getting better and better, which they have over the last 2 games.
Yeah, like there's a lot of similarity between the 2 finals. Like, you know, you have 2 out-and-out favourites and you have 2 out-and-out contenders. And for the final to go kind of Bearfield's way, they'll have to play out of their skins. I think they'll have to be a little bit safer at the back. I thought that they gave Cratlow plenty of opportunities at the very end of the match. You know, they got carved open when they could have maybe just squeezed in a little bit more, stayed back a little bit more in the final few minutes. But that's experience, and you learn from that experience. And on the flip side of it, they did marvellous defending to keep the ball out of the net in those few minutes and get over the line. And semi-finals are for winning, you know, and from learning from the mistakes. So if they can take that kind of swashbuckling attitude that they had the last day, and as James said, go at a Rogue with the pace that they have, ask them questions, but if things don't work for them, that they kind of transition back and actually keep it tight at the back, I think they'll have a great chance. And that's what makes it interesting. You know, you won't know until the ball is thrown in as to what way the pattern of this game is going to unfold, but it has the potential to be kind of a cracker anyhow.
Absolutely. I know Rogue management and players hate this question, but is there any pressure on the double being achieved on Sunday?
There's no pressure. It's another match. I mean, we were going for the double in 2000, we were going for the double in 22, and it was always the football first, and they got over it, and it was the hurling. There's a lot of pressure for us. We basically won that for the first time in 35 years. There's no pressure. The lads are, like, you've got significant, brilliant leaders in that group. And I mean, they were meeting together, let's say, they were back training Tuesday night down in Clarecastle. There's leaders inside there. To them, they want to win as many medals as they can. It's a match, and you go out and you do what you know you can do. And when you win the match, and if it results in you winning the double, so be it. But they're going for a county medal. Like, there's a couple of lads, they're football only. This is their day, so they're going out. I mean, it's the 2 lads, let's say, the Cullen Walsh will be a huge loss, let's say, and it's a shame, let's say, you want anyone that's playing up to that standard to be able to play in the county final, so he'll be a loss. But sure, they'll have plenty of subs, let's say, there's plenty of guys chomping at the bit. You'll have Darren to come back into it, Jack Joyce, and so there's plenty there. And on the flip side, then you'd hope that Fionn would be fit, let's say, for Dora Bearfield, let's say, because great footballer and deserves, let's say, to be playing in a county final. But there's no talk at the double. Like, the double is really for us, the supporters. The players are kind of, since Paul took over and Shane took over this year, then again, they've become right professional. They've actually brought it to the levels, and you've guys inside there, Aaron, Kieran, Dean. There's standards that they demand from all the rest of them, and there's no talk. It's all just next match. And so far in the championship, we haven't been hitting the lights out, but we know what we can do. They're doing enough. And fingers crossed, as the lads alluded to, if both teams click on Sunday, it should be a right cracking match. And I think if both teams play to their potential, I think Rogue will win, but I think it'll be a cracker for the supporter.
What way will St. Joseph's approach this game, James?
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one still, to be honest. A lot of teams, you know, get to finals, and I think one of the lads said there, to try and stay in the game for as long as they can, and sometimes they're out of the game with 10 or 15 minutes to go, and they haven't really had a real cut at them. I would hope they'll have a go at it on Sunday, that they'll go all out to win, holding their heads and playing sensible football, but at the same time, you know, not holding back when they get up to one side of the field, going over and back across, that they have a real go at them, because I think they have the pace to trouble Rogue. Definitely have the pace to trouble Rogue, and you know, it'll be just a shame that if you walk off at the end of 60, 65 minutes or whatever, and that you're kind of thinking to yourself, Jesus, we didn't have a go at that game. Like, it's a massive opportunity, because like the amount of talent that's coming up in Bearfield, I saw him playing under 17 there on Monday night against Lissy Casey. Some fantastic players coming through. And if that team can go on, and if you can win a championship at 20, 21 years of age, and the players are coming through from that under 17 and the underage setup that they have coming through, you know, it's going to be a very bright future. But, you know, I would hope that they will have a go and open up the game, and that's because that's the way they'll beat the Rogue, is having a right cut of them.
Absolutely. Michael, Tom mentioned there, and it did actually happen, but in fairness, they came out of it. There was a certain amount of panic from St. Joseph's in the closing 5 minutes against Cratloe. But how can you, you can only handle that when it actually happens, and it's a difficult thing to get a handle on.
Yeah, I'm very interested in what Barry said about nobody feeling pressure, because I would have thought you need that little bit of anxiety in the back of your head to keep you on mind your energy between now and then. And I have a funny feeling there are very few lads turning up on Sunday who don't feel a bit of pressure.
Is that good?
Michael, pressure's for tires. There's guys, let's say, they'll be out all right. Let's say we know what's at stake. Let's say there's a county final. So there's always a little bit of butterflies. But they're well seasoned. They're been there. They know what the standards are. They know what's required by them. They know if they can play to what their potential is, the result will take care of itself.
I think Michael Needham, when he was playing, he was always a cute little centre back, was he? He was always taking a few digs into you. So I think he's getting enough of digs in there tonight now. So.
Michael will whisper in your ear, you're under pressure.
It says that they're warming up someone there for you. They're warming up.
Who do you fancy, Michael?
Who do I fancy?
Yeah.
Okay, you gave the odds at a very extended odds there, Sil. Would you reduce those to the last 10 minutes, the last 15 minutes? How is the game at the last 15 minutes? I see it nip and tuck. And after that, then it's up to who is able and who wants to.
Who do you think wants to?
I didn't realise I'd be put to the...
will I come back to you?
Yeah, it's a very... I mean, James mentioned a very interesting thing about underage performance feeding in at the right age into a senior success. I've yet to see that formula working. I have yet to see clubs who deliver, I would say, consistent underage success. We wait a long time to see the senior dividend of that. So I'd forget about all that down. I'd talk about the lads that are going out on the pitch. And I'd say, lads, there's one shot at it. And today is the day, because we were relegated, haven't got to a county semi-final. And if I had gone into that dressing room and said, lads, county semi-final this year now, settle away with that, we'll be in a county final next year. And here we are.
No pressure. Tom, where can this be won on either side?
God, it's hard to say. Still, I think Barry has hit the nail on the head. Like, Erogue are very composed and they'll know what they can do. So I don't think they're going to get fazed by what Bearfield are going to throw at them. For Bearfield, I think they'll have to try and bring an element of chaos to the game, try and disrupt, and not in a negative way, but just when they get their chance, go at Erogue, not play outside around them, but just go at them as hard as they ran in the semi-final at Cratloe. Get the ball down the other end of the field, and as quick as they can, get a two-pointer shot off. And if they can get a few of those, I'm not saying that you're going to hurt kind of Erogue, but it won't allow Erogue time to settle, and you don't want to give an established team time to settle and kind of size you up. You kind of want to kind of keep them on the back foot and keep them under as much pressure as you possibly can, and try to stop them from playing the game that they want to play and that they're used to playing. So if they could inject some element of chaos into the game, I think that would be an advantage, and they have the legs and they have the youth to do that.
So, Tom, is that what Clare intend doing?
I think we might need a few more players. I'd love to say that's what we're going to do, but I do think that on that side of it, I think kind of the aces are with Corofin. We'd have to play out of our skins to stay with you, and if we can do that, we'd have a chance. We wouldn't fear Corofin, but at the same time, we'd have to have a very healthy respect for a team that put 15 points on you earlier on in the championship.
You can talk away there, Les. It's James, in a build-up to a game like this, and in a build-up for a team like St. Joseph's, who are outsiders on Sunday, the approach is so important. How much of a part of a management to play in that, for younger players especially?
I suppose it's a key part of the lead up to the game. Still, I suppose they didn't have any distraction last week, the same as the Erogue lads, so I suppose they've had a couple of weeks to train and get things right. For most of the management and for the players, it's a new experience. you're kind of relying on, you need everything going to plan. You need to have everything spot on, arriving at the right time, everything, warm-ups, everything going well, and players relax. But I think the players are hungry, to be honest. And you see the amount of flags. I remember it was in 2011 we got the county final, and 12 we got the 2 county finals in a row at Doura Bearfield. And like the amount of flags that are around the parish now, it's it's a credit to the whole club. Like there's Bearfield, Doura, Knockaneen, Rosslevin, every place has flags up. So I think it's it's starting to come together. I know Michael says underage success doesn't always lead to senior success, but I think Doura Bearfield have an underage success for the last maybe 15 years, and they've kind of been building up. And losing players, you're lacking. You have the 2 Hannons missing this year, 2 really experienced players that are gone, and you're like down through the years, you're losing experienced players, and you're relying on younger fellas to come in then and carry that experience into big games. But hopefully, I think Fionn Keller, if he's fit, is going to be a big player. Joe Rafferty, definitely a big player. We've seen him, he was training with the county all year. Like they're big players for Doura Bearfield the next day, and they need to take some of the pressure off some of the younger lads. Darragh O'Shea, I see his father is here as well. He's around for a good few years, but he's still only 26, 27. So, but it's going to be, there's going to be pressure, and some players react really well under pressure, and some players the occasion can get them. But you'd be hoping. Every player is different. You can't go and tell a player to do this, do that. And when you're parading around behind the band at the start of the game, you've got to be focused in on the game. Everything has to do with the game. You can think about it like we are 25 years later. You can really look back in it then. But for the match, you've got to be totally focused on that match and that game and what your job is. And if everybody does their job, I think they have a reasonable chance. Yeah. I wouldn't go straight out and say they're going to win the game. You would imagine that Éireog have that experience down through the years that they should win the game. But somebody always has to make a breakthrough. Every team has to make a breakthrough at some stage. And I suppose it's ironic that the last time Doura Bearfield won it was 1898, I think, as Doura. And so Donagh is a Doura man, proud Doura man. So it could be an occasion where he'll lead them to Jack Daly. So.
Barry, before we wind up, I think one of the most impressive things about Éireog this year has been the management transition. It's absolutely seamless.
Yeah, look, it's like Shane did his apprenticeship under Paul, so knew exactly what was required, and he's brought it on to another level. I mean, they have been kind of like a machine, to be quite honest. And what they have in abundance is there's plenty of lads. If you're lucky enough to get the 1 to 15 jersey, there's plenty of guys trying to take it off your back. So the competition is great. And look, every county final throws up someone new. I mean, Colin Walsh of Loughlin set the world alight last year. I think one year it was Philip Talty. So you don't know, it could be someone different. It could be Mike Nash from Doura Bearfield. Like if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on Manus. Manus he's been impressive this year, let's say. I mean, he scored, 3-2, I think 3-1 from cornerback. Like, I mean, it'll be the matchups that Donagh puts out or Shane puts out and who's going to be picking up these marquee forwards. But, look, as I said earlier, we're all praying for a shootout. And fingers crossed, as an Éireog man, we'll come out on top of it. But you hope that, I mean, the one thing that I will say is that to have the 2 matches in Cusack Park on Sunday is great. You'll have a crowd in for the intermediate and a big crowd, and they'll stay for the senior match. And you hopefully, you'll get that crowd because the players deserve that. They deserve it. It's their big day, and they deserve a crowd coming in. And pitch is in excellent order. So, look, as a townie, you'll be praying that we get off to a good start. Don't like this kind of thing of biting your fingernails. I mean, you must remember that the last 2 times we played them, Cusack Cup, went to extra time. We'll forget about the Divisional League match this year, and going back 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, we just fell over the line. I mean, Doura Bearfield should have beaten us that day, so we're well aware of what they can throw at us. But we get our own house in order. Fingers crossed we'll be there at the end.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, both games live on Sunday and on Clare TV in association with Stream Sport. The biggest cheer of the night is going to win, so let's hear it for Éireog. St. Joseph's. Cora Clare. Corofin. The bus broke down on the way in. A special word of thanks before we wind up. Kieran is over here on sound tonight and on production as well. Mike is on camera. Michelle down at the back, great help with Aaron. And of course, a special word of thanks to Kieran as well here in the fantastic headquarters. And we mentioned that last night she couldn't be here. Michael is down at the back as well. And to Deirdre Murphy, who's moving on, and we wish her the very best last night. And I came across a big discovery. Everybody might know our Deirdre over the last couple of years as the operations manager in Clare, but she also has a very unique record on the playing field. I just just came across the other day. She was nominated for an All-Star on 7 occasions as a camogie player, so I thought that was absolutely brilliant. Also brilliant, right? I think that, thanks to Aaron as well, to Don. Would you give a special round of applause to Michael Neelan, Corofin, Tom Queely, Clare, James Hanrahan, St. Joseph Stone Bearfield, and Barry Keating, Errol. Enjoy the games on Sunday. Hope you enjoy this evening. And as we said, we'll all be cheering for somebody in Páirc Uas Óg, Zimmer Biomed Páirc Uas Óg on Sunday. Until we see you then, thanks a million for joining us. Thanks a million.
NC Paint and Decor. Whatever your decorating needs are, paint, wallpaper, or expert colour advice, we've got you covered.
Our island home, its waters blue and endless green, inspires colour like no other. Colour Trend paint is crafted in Ireland and designed for durability. Visit your local stockist or store for colour inspiration. Colour Trend, a world of quality in every colour.
Ennis Electrical, best prices on appliances, huge savings on premium brands. Ennis Electrical is a family-run business who pride themselves on good customer relations. Ennis Electrical are part of Expert, one of the largest electrical retailers in Ireland.
Custom sportswear and workwear by Baru Sports in Ennis and Shannon. From clubs and schools to local businesses, we design quality gear that looks sharp and lasts. Baru Sports Ennis and Shannon, custom made for your team, your work, your game. Call us now on 061 364 750.
Martin Williams Concrete Products Limited is a family-run business based in County Clare, Ireland, specialising in precast concrete solutions for a wide range of industries. Over 2 decades of experience. Established in 1998, they actively listen to customer needs and continuously research innovative ways to improve their offerings. They have a strong local reputation for reliability and customer service, deep knowledge of the building sector, which they're happy to share with clients. If you're working on a building or landscaping project and need durable, locally made concrete products, they might be worth checking out.